Hello and welcome to the first video of my new YouTube channel called Teaching Music with Susan. This is a place where I want to share tips and tricks from a veteran music teacher to those of you that are interested in learning more about how to teach elementary music. Are you ready? Let's get started. So for the first video, I decided to talk about how to set up your classroom. As I am filming this, it is the middle of July. My district does not start school again until the day after Labor Day, so I do not have to be back into my classroom until late August. But I know a lot of us around the country as teachers start earlier than that. You may have this image in your head of what you want your classroom to look like. Until you get in there and work with the space that you have and the equipment that you have, you don't know exactly how it's going to work best for you. So just keep that in mind as we're going through these options. I will also talk about teaching on a cart and how you can set that up. So in my many years of teaching, let's see, I have taught in a classroom, I've taught in mobiles, I've taught on a stage, I've taught on a cart, I've taught in a cafeteria, I have taught in a hospital. So there will be another video later on about some of those experiences. Right now, let's talk about setting up an actual classroom that doesn't need to be torn down at the end of the day or set up each morning. So I'm going to put some pictures up here of my room. My room is quite small. As a matter of fact, during the recent school shutdowns with the pandemic and eventually hybrid teaching and social distancing, I only ended up teaching 2 classes in that room per week because I only had enough space for 6 students at a 6-foot distance. So I ended up teaching out in a mobile unit that just happened to be empty during the rest of that time. And I was very grateful for that mobile unit. But let's look at some different setups. So you could do a row by row with the straight rows, which is what a lot of educators will tell you is best practice, because if you walk into most classrooms, they are set up in desks in rows. They might be in little pods, like a desk here, a desk here, and a desk here, like 4, right? But a lot of times it's in rows. It just depends on the teacher and what they're trying to accomplish. I have done this before, and there are some advantages to it. It's really easy to walk between them, and the kids are very used to that, and they don't have other students staring at them while they are singing or playing an instrument, right? Because there is such a thing as performance anxiety. Even when you're playing in a group, a lot of children, if they are not in a music environment normally, where they are encouraged to sing a lot or play around a lot or just dance to music, they can get very self-conscious, especially the older they get. So that would be one of the advantages of being in rows, because people aren't going to be staring at them. Everybody's going to be facing you as the teacher. However, most elementary music educators will probably tell you that they prefer a semicircle setup. And this is for musicianship. If they can hear each other and see each other better, then it will encourage them to meld so that their music sounds more cohesive. So that's a big reason for that. The other reason I'll tell you is in elementary music in particular, we do move a lot. Whether it be choreography, whether it just be standing in front of you and how does the music make you feel, and you're doing that. But there's a lot of movement, and sometimes it's good to have that center space so that you can say to somebody that maybe doesn't feel like they have enough space, why don't you come up here? Another reason for that center space is you now have created a space that you might have noticed in some kindergarten classrooms where they will sit and have carpet time or story time or morning circle, where they all come up and sit on the floor so they're closer to the teacher and the teacher sits in a chair. So if you have that center space there, you can encourage your back row kids, if you have a back row, to come up and sit there, and your front row kids can still stay in that ring, and everybody still feels involved and included in your story time or rhythm reading or whatever it is that you're doing that you want them to be closer. But I digress. Let's get back to setting it up. So once you've decided how you want to do your chairs, then you need to make sure that you have bins that you're going to be able to put underneath your chair to put things in. So some teachers will keep all of their instruments separate over in bins up at the front of the classroom, and they'll say, okay, my friends in chairs 2, 3, and 4, go get a pair of maracas. My friends in chairs 4, 5, and 6, go get a triangle. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. I find that's a little too time consuming for me. So what I do is I take bins, and I'm going to show you a picture here of what the different bins look like. So there's all types of bins and baskets out there that you can get. I'm from plenty of different locations. I mean, I've ordered them out of catalogs. I've gotten them at the Dollar Tree. I've gotten them from all different places. And you just find a size or a structure that works best for you, and you put them underneath of your chair. And for me, that's where I'm going to put instruments. And I will do a whole nother video on instruments at another time because I want to go in more depth for that later. But suffice it to say, that's where I have the instruments in when the kids come in the room. If they're the first class of the day, the bins are sitting on top of the chairs, and the kids know to just pick the whole bin up and put it underneath, and they know not to touch the instruments or play with them. That's actually one of my rules, which I will get to in another video as well. But in addition to that, if you decide you want to put a music book in there, if you decide you want to have a pencil in there, whatever works for you. If a kid brings a toy with him to class, say for example, and that will happen, you could just ask him to put it in the bin and leave it alone until the end of class time. So they come in handy. And it's good if you can find some that are stackable too. All right, so let's take a moment to talk about visuals in the classroom. I am a very visual learner, so I like a lot of visuals, but I know some people don't like a lot of visuals. So I took a bunch of pictures of my room, so you can see there's a lot of visuals around the room. But I will tell you the things that principals will probably require you to have, okay? Most principals, maybe not all, like to have a word wall of some sort. So here's what that looks like in my room. It doesn't have to be super fancy. It can be if you want it to, but this is once again a case of space determining what will work and what won't. And this is the only place I found that I could really put a word wall. Another thing that a principal may require, or if not require, appreciate seeing is I can statements. Of course, that depends on whether your district does that or not. You can see in this the I can statements, and I actually need to replace these next year. They've been up for about 6 years now, and they're showing some wear and tear, but it's the same idea of the kids being able to see I can dance, I can sing, etc., and encouraging them that they can do these things. Another good thing that you might want to do, especially as an elementary music teacher, where you're going to be talking about tonality and instrumentation, etc., is if you have some posters of some instruments or some posters of music theory or posters of other things that you're trying to teach, if you want to pop those up. And then you'll see some extra stuff like some recorder fingering that I have up there and some sayings that I have up there. So what you want to have in your classroom are some sort of chair setup, so determine that. I like to put numbers on my chairs. In this video, they are not on there because this was done at these pictures were taken at the end of the school year, so they weren't on there anymore. You also want to have bins of some sort so that you could put supplies in those bins to save time on students going to and from different areas of the classroom to get the supplies, whatever they are. And you want to have a word wall, possibly I can statements, and any other musical visuals that you think would be helpful for your students. So that's a basic setup for a permanent room that you don't have to set up and tear down every day. Let's talk about how to set up a cart. So this is what you definitely need to have on a cart. You need to have speakers. You need to have something to play your music with, whether it's iPod, whether it's CD player, whatever you're working with. And each district has their own thing, and each teacher feels comfortable with their own thing. I will tell you that preschool closure, if I had been on a cart, which I wasn't, I had my own room, but if I had been on a cart, because I had been on one in the past, I would have my iPod and my Bluetooth speaker, and that's what I would go around to play my music. During the school closures, and I discovered Google Slides, which are great, and discovered the ability to embed music into my Google Slide presentation, so I had everything right there. Once I came back from hybrid and I had to go on a cart, I did have a speaker, but I didn't have to bring the iPod anymore because I had embedded all of my audio into my Google Slides. So it was just one less piece of equipment that I had to take around with me. And I was only on a cart for 1 week when we came back from hybrid, because then I ended up in the mobile, and I was very grateful for that. So getting back to the cart, you want to have speakers, you want to have your iPod or whatever you're using to play your music from. You want to have a tote bag or a bin of some sort that is just going to have like your things that you need all the time, like your rosters, pens and pencils for yourself. These are things for you to function. Maybe that's where you carry your iPod if you're using one. Maybe that's where you carry any cords, any extra cords or batteries if you happen to need them. This is your teacher supply bin or tote bag that you're carrying with you everywhere, every day. You might even put hand lotion in there, hand sanitizer in there, tissues in case you can't find one in a classroom. Anything that you think you might need as you're traveling from room to room would go in the teacher bin or the teacher tote bag if that's what you prefer. The other thing you want to have on that cart is you want to have some instruments. So here's a general rule of thumb. On a cart, you want to take half the amount of instruments that you would probably want to use in your classroom. For example, if I wanted my kindergarten students to all play the maracas at the same time in my classroom, and I have 20 kindergarten students, that's 20 pairs of maracas or 20 single maracas if I was doing that with them. On a cart, if I was going into a classroom of 20 kindergarten students, I would bring only 10 pairs of maracas or 10 single maracas. Okay? There's a reason for this. It takes up less room on your cart. Number one. Number two, you can rotate them around. So you could say, okay, this half of the class, you get to play the maracas the first time, the other half of the class is going to sing, and then you swap. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is maybe you want to bring a second instrument. So maybe you want half of the class to play rhythm sticks while the other class plays maracas. If that's the case, then you want to do the song twice, which is what you were going to do anyway. Half of them playing maracas, half of them singing. Now you can go half play maracas, half play sticks. Now let's swap. I do want to put a little side note here. Depending on what your district's mandates are going to be as far as sharing school supplies among students, you may have to modify what I just said. For example, if your district says, I don't want anybody sharing anything, or if they do, you have to clean everything before you share it with the next person, then what you may want to do is you may want to take enough for the entire class to play rhythm sticks and another bin for a different class to play, say, maracas. I'm just using these two as an example. The idea being that you go into your first class, they play rhythm sticks, nobody else in the class touched them, just each individual student. Then you collect them at the end, and when you leave that classroom, you clean those rhythm sticks and let them sit on your cart and finish drying out or whatever they need to do. Just finish sitting and being clean. And you go into your next class and you play maracas with them. And then you do the same process at the end of that class. Either way, you should at all times, if at all possible, have at least 2 instruments that you are using going around on that cart. It might be something that you want to do 3, 4, 5, or 6. I get that. You want this class to do triangles, this class to do maracas, this class to do rhythm sticks. I get that idea, but even when I'm in my classroom, I tend to, during a given week, say, okay, this is my week. I'm really focusing on maracas and sticks. You know, a shaking instrument and a hitting instrument. And the next week I might say, oh, I'm going to change it to triangles and tambourines. I don't know. But either way, it just helps with making your lesson planning easier. And on a cart, when you're talking about wanting to be as compact as possible, it's a really good idea to just streamline your instruments as much as you possibly can. So you might want to have cleaning supplies on that cart if you are required to clean those instruments after each student uses them. 2 more things that I want to tell you about the cart that worked fantastic for me when I had to be on a cart last year. Bungee cords. So if you can get a couple bungee cords, because those bins, they're going to rock around. Any bins or tote bag that you happen to put on that cart, they're going to rock around that cart. And if you have like slopes like some of these older buildings do, if you have to put it into an elevator, take it out of the elevator, if there's a little kick plate that you have to go over, if you're taking it too fast because you're rushing to get to your class, getting a few of these and strapping on your bins onto your cart will help you out a lot. One other thing for the cart, and that is this. This was designed, I believe, for, it's a water bottle holder, in case you can't tell what it is. This was designed, when I looked it up, when I Googled it to find it, I think I was on Amazon actually. It was bike, I Googled like bike water bottle holders or something like that. And the thing I like about this one is nice and soft, and it's got the Velcro, and it'll definitely, you know, hold any water bottle without any problem. And it wraps around the leg of the cart. So even once I was in a mobile, I still had to keep everything on a cart because I shared the mobile with another person, and because I was doing concurrent teaching with Zoom and in person at the same time. So I had to have a lot of computers up there. As a result, I kept this on the cart, and I would just come in and I knew where my water was at all time, and my water wasn't spilling, and I didn't have to have it in my hand or anything else. So that would be a good idea to have something like this for a cart. I am so glad you made it to the end of this video. If you want to learn more tips and tricks in any future videos, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, have a great day.